Consciousness, the final frontier. These are the voyages into the universe between your ears. Our mission, to explore collective wisdom, seek out amazing secrets, and spread the message of personal potential. All right, hello everybody. I'm Tim Starr, your host for the universe between your ears. I'm here along with my illustrious co-host, Gabi Mashiev. Gabi, say hello.
Hello to everyone.
So people know you're out there and they know I'm not lying. We're both looking forward to this conversation. This is going to be fun. We have a friend of mine with us here by the name of Berns Bedard. Berns is the founder of the Berns Show. She's CEO and creative genius behind Passion Fruit Designs. It's an award-winning bikini designer to the fitness stars. She's a mom of two, a teacher, and a student of life. She's, a student of life turned Law of Attraction Junkie, public speaker and a health and lifestyle entrepreneur. Each week, she brings her viewers thought-provoking concepts, new perspectives, fresh ideas, and practical strategies to help her audience push past whatever is holding them back, overcome their fears, provide clarity, and instill confidence to deliberately create the life of their dreams in relationships, business, and health. She loves reminding us that we don't have to settle for the way things currently are. We have the power to go out there and actively create a new reality. Get ready to line up with what you want and tap into your hidden potential to manifest everything your heart desires. Berns, good to finally get you.
Yes, thank you for having me. It is an honor. I'm so grateful to be here and chatting with your amazing listeners. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
Berns, is that Berns is short for another name, right? Berns.
It is. It's short for Bernadette, but I go by Berns. Have done so since I started bikini designing 15 years ago, and yeah, it stuck. It was my dad's. It was actually the name of endearment my dad always called me. So when I was growing up in Trinidad, I was known as Bernie. Nobody called me Bernadette. I went to school. I grew up in Trinidad for part of my life, and I was known as Bernie. And my dad would always be the one that called me Berns. So when I was starting my bikini design business, typing my name Bernadette was just too long.
I know, but I would totally buy that bikini, Bernadette. You know?
Yeah, well, that is a beautiful name, but Berns...
You look like a Bernadette to me. I don't know.
You do, right?
You know, yeah.
I'm very saintly, Tim. I'm very saintly.
I don't believe that. That's all right. All right, cool. Well, I don't know exactly where Gabi, did you?
Yeah,
I see you talking. Go ahead.
You could do like BB, right? For the initials.
BB, yep. And my middle name is S, so it would be BSB. And when I got married, my initials stayed the same, BB. So yeah.
Just keeping life simple.
Interesting. That's amazing. I never encountered a bikini designer for bodybuilders, I have to say. This is very interesting and an amazing niche, I think, right?
Yeah, it is very much a niche market, actually. And that was one of the reasons why when I was on Dragon's Den, I don't know if you guys know Shark Tank. What Dragon's Den is the Canadian version of Shark Tank. And my company, Passion Fruit Designs, which I owned and created and manifested, my husband, now ex-husband, and I were on Dragon's Den several years ago, season 4, I believe. But one of their comments was that it's too niche a market. You'll be right now. You're a big fish in a small pond. We don't think you'd be going to be a
the bigger pond has a lot more big fish.
Yeah, that one. So yes. It is a very niche market.
How did you come around to this interesting idea?
Well, it is an interesting story. Thanks for asking, Gabi. I was trying to lose my baby weight that I had after my second child 15 years ago. And I stumbled across a program, a nutrition program, as it were. And to that, there was a few websites attached to it for people within the program to get community support. So I was in that group. And I was lurking over in the bodybuilder competitor section. That was a different page. It wasn't my thing, but I'd always had a lifelong interest in health and fitness since I was about 14, 15 years old. And I was following what these bodybuilders and competitors were doing every day, like as my own motivation. And after about 3 or 4 months, when they started posting their pictures of their competitions in their bikinis, I was mortified at how badly the bikinis fit. I was just like, what? You're kidding me. That is not what you just, not after all that work that you just about killed yourself on. Your gut. Come on now. And I was on maternity leave at the time, just had my baby. But before maternity leave from teaching, which was what I was doing at the time, I had also gone to Ryerson University before I went to Teachers College back in, 1987, 88, 89. So I had a passion for fashion. I had some technical know-how, but I didn't know how to make a suit. I didn't know what they fit like. They were like high cut, and I don't know. So, and the ones that I was looking at were not a very good example of what to do. So I knew that I had to figure out. I put a post on the board. I said, "Hi, this is Berns from the main board. But if anybody's interested in working with me in exchange for me picking your brain, I'll make you a bikini. I've never done it before. Disclaimer." But there's got to be a better way.
How old were you at the time?
I had just had my second daughter. This was 15 years ago. I'm 52 now, so that would have made me. Thank you. Healthy.
16.
Aging.
You were 16 years old.
Reverse aging. I must have been 12. But so somebody, she remains good friends with me to this day, Lenore. She popped up into that chat and she said, "Pick me, I'll do it with you." And over the course of a couple of months, I made and remade 6 bathing suits for her, bikinis. And on the 6th one, I was happy enough that I put a bit of crystal work on it, much to her, hesitation. I'm like, "No, trust me. Nobody else has crystals in the bodybuilding world. Trust me. They're going to love it. They're not going to know what hit the stage. It's going to be perfect." So she trusted me. I was always been a visionary. So she trusted me. I put a beautiful, very just along the edge detail of crystals. She won her show. She felt super confident. She lived in Rochester. I lived in a very tiny town called Mildmay, Ontario. We escaped the hustle and bustle of Newmarket to go for Mildmay because that way we could have a single income family because the cost of living out there is so much cheaper. We're in the middle of nowhere, rural farming town, 1,000 people population, right? So I flew down to Rochester, New York, to Buffalo.
Buffalo.
I drove down to Buffalo. She and her husband and I got a suite. They had their bedroom, we had mine, but the common area was there. I learned so much about backstage at a bodybuilding show. It was beautiful. It was the first suit I ever did.
So you never met her before?
Never met her before on person. We would chat on the phone. This is 15 years ago, before video conferencing and Skyping and on the phone chatting with text, like email. She would send me pictures of her in every suit that I made. I made the suits on a borrowed machine. I cried and cussed through so much of it. My now 15-year-old was in the high chair next to me crying. I looked over at her and I said, "You better get used to the sound of these machines. This is what's going to be going down." I had a feeling, right? I had a feeling inside of me that I was onto something, even though I was only after making one bikini that fit really well. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't have any plans of creating a company or a brand that my company has become. I'm one of the most copied, recognized, and image-changing designers in the fitness industry. Starting with that first bikini, I don't want crystals. It's a bodybuilding show. Nobody else has crystals. I said, "You're getting crystals. You're working with me now, so trust me." I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. I never saw a bodybuilding show before, but I exuded confident. She trusted me, right?
But I mean, they're open to dress in anything they want, right? For the
no, it's actually quite regimented in terms of cut and fit. Not so much regulated, but there's an understanding of what's expected. The type of cut of the suit, the way the straps crisscross in the back, a whole bunch of things. But after her show, she won her show. It was amazing. I learned so much backstage of that show. So much that I implemented into my suits, like that crisscross in the back. How do you get that so that the girls could get in and out easily without somebody having to fiddle down here to untie them? That was all me. That changed, that revolutionized things. But people started messaging me from that very board and saying, oh my God, did you make Lenore's suit? Can you make one for me? And I said, yes, I did. I don't know, but I'll try. The next suit after that, I remember that suit, and I remember the next one. And from there, I said, I think I might be onto something. First of all, I loved it. I loved the process of creating something out of nothing. I loved the process of creating beautiful bikinis. They did not look like this that you guys can see on the video feed. Back then, it was much more basic, but I always started with the same principle. I started with the principle of, number one, I want every single one of my clients to feel like they are a superstar, like they are receiving the red carpet treatment. My bikinis ended up very quickly costing anywhere from $199 to $5,000, like you see here. These are fully Swarovski crystal embellished. So it didn't matter to me if the girl was a $5,000 girl or a $199 girl. That didn't come out right at all. But it didn't matter to me what their budget was. You know what I'm going for.
Remember that movie?
That's the girl at the bar.
Remember the Expendables? Oh, my boy loves that.
Oh yeah.
Expendables. The designer there.
Yes, I do. I can relate to that designer very well. Yes, indeed. So, you know, it became all about the client, making them feel like the superstar that they were. The second thing was I wanted to create something that was completely unique to me. I didn't want to copy anybody else. There were a couple other bikini designers on the market, and they were doing, some of them were doing some pretty cool stuff, but I took one quick glance and then I stopped looking at anything they were doing. And I just said, my goal in this first little while is to come up with a look unique to me and to always evolve something that was unique to me. This is my art. This is my creation. And the other one was that I always trusted that things were going to unfold no matter what goal I set for myself. Like, for example, after the first 4 or 5 bikinis, I was still nobody in terms of designer. Like, really, I was just so wet behind the ears, not even funny. But I had a goal that by the end of that year, that I wanted to have my bikini on the cover of a magazine being worn by a professional figure bodybuilder bikini competitor. I didn't know where it was going to come from. The idea just popped into my head. It's like something, just a portal to the universe. I kid you not, opened up and said, Berns, you're going to have your suits on the cover of in a magazine, not on the cover, except I didn't want to dream too big, because come on, Berns, like, you know, but I said to myself, I want to be in a magazine on a professional model. I would call, initially I was like, let me search for who might want to wear my suit, and I'm going to contact them and I'm going to do it. And that didn't work. I got shut down pretty good. You know, one of them was, oh, well, you haven't really designed for anybody yet, really. So maybe when you're bigger, I'll see. And as she said that, I thought, oh, you do not know who you just said no to. I was nobody at the time. She obviously wouldn't have any reason to know who she just said no to. I hadn't even developed into it yet, but I knew what was coming. I knew what was coming. I know it when I feel it, when I'm onto something and I'm strong and I'm passionate about it and the energy is flowing and it lines up with my values and real purpose in life, like not even purpose in life, but when it lines up with who I am. integrity-wise and everything morally, ethically, visionary.
I relate to that. Like you want something so much, this passion almost hurts you a little bit. You know, it's burning.
Yeah.
Burning
Yeah, it's like a burning desire. Exactly. It's like you go to sleep and you think about it. You dream, sleep, and you think about it. The first thing on your mind when your eyes open is that thing. And I remember thinking that. I remember thinking, oh, you don't know who you just turned down, honey. I feel bad for you. I mean, I'll design for you when you come knocking again. I don't know if she ever did or not, because I'm not really vindictive like that. But I just remember that feeling came over me like, oh, wait, just wait.
Yeah.
But the funny part about, the interesting part about.
Almost did the head move, the neck thing.
The interesting part, though, is that within a month, I had somebody contact me through another forum board called Oxygen Magazine. They had a fitness board, and someone from there contacted me, and I went and I clicked on her profile, and I was like, whoa, this chick's got like an Oxygen Magazine cover picture. What's the what with that? So I clicked it. I'm like, oh, interesting. That she was messaging me that she wanted me to design a bikini for her. By the end of that year, a couple of weeks before what I had envisioned in my head, I had her in one of my bikinis in and on the cover of a published magazine. And that would be the first of many. Wow. So, you know, I've always somehow known about this law of attraction, about going with your flow of energy. Everything that I like to reverse engineer my successes in life as well as my quote unquote quote failures. I don't believe anything is a failure, because everything happens to put more of that greatness into our future. And everything is an opportunity if we choose to look at everything that happens as an opportunity. So I've always intuitively known this and been in touch with it. I didn't really line up specifically and explicitly with the teachings of Abraham to study them. I was introduced to them 7 years ago, but it wasn't until I got cancer 6 years ago that I really, where the you know what hit the fan, where my life had bottomed out. I got cancer. 3 months after that, I was separated from my husband of 25 years. Beautiful man, amazing husband, amazing father, amazing business partner, but we were not resonating anymore, and we were both just over the work that it was entailing, the struggle. So but at that point my life was pretty on a downward spiral.
And that's when you encountered the Abraham's teaching.
That's when I stumbled upon it. So after the initial, we were living in California at the time. We're in Canada, kind of close to Toronto. But we were living in California to go live on the beach and follow some awesome business dreams. But within 3 months of me moving there, cancer. Within 3 months of that, marriage was over. And within 3 months of that, moving back to Canada, right? So it was quite an interesting year. It worked out to about a year. When I got back, I found myself in a really deep depression, like really deep depression. Like I'm having thoughts of, that would be an easy way to kill myself. Like if I just really can't take this anymore, or that would be and then I was like, oh my God, Berns, like you need to get a hold of yourself. It's one thing to think that once or twice. We've all thought that once or twice before, like, oh my God, this is so horrible. How can I just end it? Right? But when you start having those thoughts, like chronically planning stuff out and thinking about,
scary.
That's when I just really said, you have kids in the other room, girl. You need to get your, you know what, together. You need to get yourself together. So I reached out to a friend of mine, and she told me something that I would later totally understand. But at the time, I just thought, I was mad at her. I was like, F you, you know, what? She said, you need to just change your beliefs. And I just thought, you're an idiot. You completely, what? I was so defensive in my head and in my heart about it because I was so stuck. But she said, listen, check out this one spiritual leader. I checked that one out and I was like, nah, that's just way too like really, Judy? That's just way too like kooky even for me. And I'm all about like the manifestation stuff. And after that, I stumbled onto Abraham-Hicks on YouTube and I was like, well, wait a minute. Judy, the same person a couple years before, had given me Ask and It Is Given and a couple of others of their stuff. And I was like, oh, let me look at this again. Let me check this out again. And that's when it clicked. That's when I realized that, oh my gosh, it resonated with me. The teachings, her voice, the vibration out of it just resonated with me. And I went to work on becoming happy. I realized after about a month of listening that pretty much every recording boiled down, a lot of them boiled down to getting reconnected with yourself, understanding that your happiness is your choice, and understanding that you are responsible, you and only you are responsible for your happiness, and putting into place the practical steps to do that. And so then I became a voracious student. I consumed Abraham-Hicks from YouTube. If I was awake, it was on. I'm kidding you not. Would you say
that was like a primary influence that took you out from your depression?
It was 100%, without a shadow of a doubt, exactly the entire reason my life turned around at that moment, and why my life has turned into what it has. I'm in a relationship with my ex-husband and the father of my children that most people can't even believe. We have such a harmonious relationship. We never went through any of the divorce wars. My divorce cost me zero. My ex-husband took care of everything. We never had a contested custody battle. We never had a contested anything with anything. And that was primarily because of the Abraham teachings that I put into effect before I even got the recordings. It's crazy. It started actually with this journal. When I coach and life coach and counsel people on their health and their finances and how to turn their lives around, Tim, you've seen me pull this journal out before, right? This was my roadmap, and it started with gratitude. It started with making copious lists of things to appreciate about my day and about my life. And I pull it out all the time, and I have realizations about what the power of this was all the time. The gratitude, the obsessing of things to be grateful for. I did it before the Abraham stuff, but once it was all within a blink of an eye, within the same realm. It was all the universal intelligence getting me to this and getting me to Abraham and getting me to the point where I've been able to, rejuvenate my health. I'm still on a journey with cancer. August of this year, September, October, November, 4 months ago, almost to the day. What's the date? The 12th. On August the 16th of this year, I had 75% of my liver removed because one of the tumors from my cancer is funny. It can pop up anywhere along your digestive tract out of the blue. It's just, so, after having my initial cancer surgery in December of 2011, I had my liver resected as well. 75% of my liver was removed 4 months ago. Yet I'm still in the best health of my life. I don't have any cancer.
Yeah, you look healthy and vibrant, and there's vigor and the energy in your presentation as well.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm passionate about life. I've not ever looked at cancer as something that I need to struggle with or fight or say, F you, cancer. It's never been my approach. My approach has always been, and again, this was before the Abraham-Hicks teachings really came into my life, but it's always been the same universal intelligence. You get what you focus on. And immediately from the beginning, I've made a conscious decision that I was going to focus on my well-being, that I wasn't going to focus on the fact that I had cancer. I didn't care how crappy I felt. I'm fortunate and I believe a lot of it has to do with my mindset. I'm fortunate that I've never had, well, I'm about to say that I never really had any big health struggles with this. I have, but I'm so chronically obsessed with looking for the positive side of things. I have pictures of my face on my phone from the initial cancer medication that they put me on, where my face was like a balloon. Wow. It wasn't until I went off of that in favor of cannabis oil medication, which I have legally through the Ontario Health program. But it wasn't until I switched that medication, and I believe as well, I got that insight from universal intelligence. Could
you tell me a little? Could you tell us a little bit more? This is important. It's going to be interesting for many people. I
think. Absolutely. Yeah. And this is not something I've even shared on Facebook as yet. So, and I share everything on Facebook. Well, within reason. There's parts of my life that I like to have separate and private, but in terms of my health, I'm a very open book on Facebook because I have a health and lifestyle company where I help other people get healthy. So everybody has seen my journey. They saw my journey when I was diagnosed with the cancer initially in 2011. I was very open about my cancer journey when I was diagnosed this year and had diagnosed. So I started my new health program in April. In May, and thank God I did, because if I had gone into my May oncology appointment and gotten the news that I need to have 75% of my liver resected, it would have been like not a good scene, because I wasn't very healthy before I really turned things around the month before. So when I got that diagnosis in May, that I had to have, he brought me into his back office, my oncologist, with his scan machines up to show me 6 months ago and now. And he brought me back there, and he was like, yeah, you've got one tumor left. So I had 4 tumors newly show up the year before. I was still on the Gleevec, was just using the Gleevec. I had 4 tumors pop up on my liver.
Gleevec is a medication, right?
Gleevec is a type of medication. Yeah, it's a cancer. It's a chemotherapy type drug that they use.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was on that. When the tumors popped up, they increased my medication they doubled it, which was when the real shit was hitting the fan. I would get open sores on my skin. So on part of the, the prescription sheet that they give you with the warnings, and these may be the side effects. All of the indications were happening on the outside that were on that list, including spontaneous bleeding, excessive bleeding. I would get sores. I could be sitting here and a sore would just open up on my arm, my hand, and I know I haven't knocked it or anything, but it was like I was like randomly decomposing on the outside. It was crazy.
So from that increased dose of Gleevec. Yeah.
Gleevec. It's Gleevac. Gleevec. So yeah, with the increased dose, but I was experiencing a lot of the swelling and a lot of the inflammation on the outside of my body before that. But once I doubled it, I also got a really bad capillary burst on my eyeball, right on the inside, and it was a really intense one. And I felt it as it happened, and I thought, well, why is my eye feeling like all this pressure? I went and looked in the mirror, and it was like completely blood on underneath the surface. My optometrist, I went to my optometrist right away, and I said, yikes, what the hell? She asked me what medication I might be on, and she said, this is actually almost the worst case that she's ever seen. The worst case that she'd seen was a milder version that happened in both eyes at the same time. So my body was telling me that, girl, this is killing you on the outside. What about the side effects that is showing on the inside that it talks about, including random liver organ failure and possible death, internal bleeding, all kinds of craziness. And I thought, you know what? There's got to be something else for me. And as it so happens, I was dropped off of my ex-husband's insurance thing because we had recently had the papers all signed up. This was in December of 2015.
Mm-hmm.
I had been dropped from his insurance plan because we were officially divorced, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have time to go on to my now common law boyfriend's spouse's
Mm-hmm.
insurance plan. So I had some time in between where I wasn't covered. This drug is $8,000 a month.
So no access to drugs, and that kind of opened the way for...
Didn't have access to those drugs. And that same week that happened, I had said, okay, that's it. We consume marijuana for my pain, for my stomach issues that go down, and for general mood improvement.
Edibles or smoking? Edibles.
That was smoking at the time. That's the reason why I wanted to get my medical license so that I would be medically approved to use cannabis, because there's something that you go through when you go through cancer that really starts messing with your brain and your moods.
Mm-hmm.
When you walk around with the knowledge that, oh, my mortality is definitely front and center. I mean, it is for all of us, but we don't ever walk around thinking that until you get a catastrophic diagnosis. So I went and I got my medical license. And that night I was in a chat room and I mentioned, oh, I got my medical license. This is great. I can now feel comfortable that I'm legally able to carry this important medicine. Mm-hmm. And someone said, oh, do you take yours in a syringe? And I said, okay, dude, you're getting really too serious for me. I do not shoot up my marijuana. And he said, no. This is in a syringe and you put it under your tongue and it's oil. It's cannabis oil.
Okay.
And he said, go research Rick Simpson oil. And immediately I was on YouTube, Rick Simpson oil. And my mind went kaboom. Kaboom. As much as I knew about the benefits of smoking marijuana and was a consumer in that regard, I never knew about the medicinal benefits of cannabis, of CBD, cannabinoids, and of it when the full plant extract is used internally, and the actual systemic and cellular effect of THC, but also cannabinoids, really important on the body. So I became a voracious consumer of that industry and figuring out and going through all the scientific stuff that is not common knowledge. I mean, I'm a smart girl.
Yeah. It's being suppressed, actually, probably being suppressed because the big pharma doesn't want you to.
Exactly.
Go and explore those options.
Exactly. So, I started right away. I got myself, the way the universe works when you're in alignment, my God. I said to my boyfriend, I need to make some of this Rick Simpson oil. This is going to save my life. I know it. Mm-hmm. And we looked at how much we would need to have to make the amount of medicine if I was going to replace this as a therapeutic treatment for my hope that this would take these 4 tumors away.
There's no way to just buy it? I mean, you have to actually make it.
You could, but it's also very expensive to do that. And I am the kind of person that if I can make something, I'm going to make it. You know what I mean? I'm pointing at my bikinis behind me. You guys can't do that. But with all the research that I had at my hands, because of the Rick Simpson video and all of the other, I have a playlist on my YouTube channel. I can give you guys the link of the research that I did. I was convinced that I needed to make my own medicine. I need to have that control of making my medicine. And I said to him, we need a pound of marijuana. And he said, babe, I would love to help you, but I do not have $6,000 right now for a pound of marijuana. And I just thought, okay, I went upstairs. It's one of the few times I have ever cried over this disease. I went upstairs in the shower and I sobbed. And right at the same time, that's exactly almost to the day when I had this thing go down with the insurance not working. Went up in the shower, I cried. And then I said, Berns, pull yourself together. You know that the timing is coming. You know that this is about, that everything is always working out for you. That's the first thing I said. You know everything is always working out for you. and you know that you're going to get your what you need in the timing that you need it. Just breathe and trust that the universe has my back, because it really does. I got out of the shower. I opened up my message at my phone. I see a message from an acquaintance of mine. I've never even met the guy on person. I know him from an online community that I belong to. And he said, he just sends me a message and says, I think I heard that, you know, you might be in need of something that I have access to. Can you call me? Wow. Get on the phone with him. He tells me that he privately grows and that he would be happy to provide for me what I needed. I think I may have posted on that forum that, you know, I'm looking into this, something I must have. I just must have. He messaged me and he said, listen, I can help you. And I said, I'm so grateful to you. You're amazing. Such a great, dear friend. And I haven't even met you, but I don't have that kind of money and I don't have anything to offer back in exchange. See, in the past, if I needed a service or something, I could barter. I have a lot of fitness girls who have fitness coaching online, so I could barter that. But his wife was at one time a bodybuilder, so I thought, oh my God, I can barter. And when I found out she wasn't doing that anymore, I said, I have nothing to barter. He said, listen, don't worry about it. We will gift it to you. You pay us back if and when you can. Don't worry about it. I was on my way. I got my medicine, literally stepping out of that shower when I decided that I had to just trust that this was going to happen, that everything always works out for me. I mean, how many times have we heard that in Abraham, right? And this was a true demonstration of manifestation, truly. So I got my medicine. I made it. I had my next appointment with my oncology. That was December of 2015. January of 2016, I went in for my usual 3-month CT scan, 6-month CT scan. My oncologist comes in the room with the results, and he said, like the week after, and he says, he's looking at me different now, right? I have not told him about the switch in medication, but he's looking at my file and he's looking at me he's like, so have you been, so you're on Gleevec, right? And I said, yeah, that's what you prescribed for me. I didn't lie.
Yeah.
Right?
You prescribed it, yeah.
You prescribed it. I said, yep, that's what you prescribed for me. He said, well, your test results are really good. I would say keep on doing what you're doing, because your tumors are now showing signs of responding to the treatment. And I said, oh my gosh, that's amazing. So I think you should know I'm not on Gleevec. I haven't been taking Gleevec, and I'm taking cannabis oil instead. Well, he wasn't happy. He was quite upset, kind of a little bit bullied me into thinking that I must stay on Gleevec because the government won't cover it. Meanwhile, the government's not covering it, dude. It's my private insurance company, whatever. But I looked at him square in the eye and I said, I will never, by the way, before we went into all that, we went through all the details of my result. I combed through that result. I wanted to make sure I understood what was happening. 3 of my 4 tumors were showing signs of completely either being gone or being
like receding.
Signs of necropathy, where the cell dies. Necrosis. So it gets a hard shell around it and it fills with a dark liquid. That's the cancer basically being liquefied. That was my understanding. I could be wrong. Don't anybody quote me on that. I'm not a medical doctor. I just pretend to be one where it comes to my own shit. So I looked at him square in the eye and I said, I so appreciate everything that you do for me here, but I will never again take another cancer medication as long as I live. I know what that stuff was doing to me. It was killing me slowly. And I know how I feel now on this medication. And I am 100% a firm believer that, number one, I'm never, ever going to take any cancer treatment, chemotherapy, radiation thank God my type of tumor, my type of cancer does not respond to either chemotherapy or radiation traditionally. So that's not prescribed, right? They try you on different cancer medication like Gleevec and Stintint and a couple other ones. And he tried to get me to agree to go on those other therapies. And I said, no, I have my medicine. I'm not going to do it. He was not happy. He let me know in no uncertain terms. He said, I would continue to see you and monitor you, but I do not recommend this course of treatment. And I said, no problem. I appreciate you so much, but this is what I'm going to do. I can't go back to how I was feeling the other way. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
6 months later, I went back to him. The other 3 tumors were dead, were gone. Wow. I had one more, and it was growing. So that's when he said, knowing that I wasn't going to be convinced into chemotherapy type drug. And that's when he said, because of the location of the tumor, it was on my left lobe. The rest of my liver was very healthy. In fact, my surgeons, when I woke up from the liver surgery, were blown away at how textbook perfect my intestines and my abdomen is. So I have an incision from my breastbone to below my navel. That was my incision. So they were very, very much blown away by the health and condition of my liver. Even though they had to take 75%, it was just to make sure that they got all of the surrounding tissue.
Liver is the only organ that grows back though, right?
I know, yeah. And within 6 weeks as well. So for me, it's been almost 4 months. So I'm very excited to go back for my January scan and see what's the what. But I do believe, you can't say that cannabis cured your cancer. And in my case, I did have to go back in for some surgery as well. But I do know the difference with how I feel now. And I would never go back and trade my decision for anything. I'm really happy with the decision I made. I've been able to help educate other people who are.
Hi, this is Tim Starr. Thanks for joining me and Gabi on the universe between your ears. We really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us for a little while. And we'd like to see you again. So be sure to subscribe wherever it is you're consuming the podcast from, whether it's YouTube or Stitcher or iTunes or whatever the hell else is out there. We want to see you again. We also want to hear from you. So let us know what you think of each episode. Let us know if you got an idea for a future episode that you think would be just killer. Absolutely, let us know. All right? Thanks again, and we will see you next time around. Bye-bye.